All right, ready to dive into the world of physiotherapy assistants. We're talking about a career all about helping people,
Yeah.
helping them regain movement, strength, get back to doing the things they love. You've sent over some really interesting stuff from RoleCatcher, and I gotta say, I'm really curious to unpack what it really takes to thrive in this role, not just, the basics.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm ready to dig into this. What I found fascinating about this material is that it doesn't just scratch the surface with the usual job description stuff. It actually, like, dives into the nuances. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like when I see assisting with exercises, I think, okay, pretty straightforward, right? But then Rollcatcher hits you with these phrases, defined contexts, agreed protocols, and suddenly it's like, oh, there's a lot more to this than just going through the motions.
100%. It's like you really need to grasp the why behind each task. A physiotherapy assistant, they're not just another pair of hands. They're the physiotherapist's right-hand person, making sure things run smoothly, freeing up the physiotherapist to focus on the bigger picture. Diagnosis, treatment plans, the whole patient care strategy.
Makes sense. It's about being a real partner in that patient's recovery, not just, as you said, a taskmaster. So when we picture the work environment, I think we all jump to hospitals, clinics, maybe some rehab centers, right? But then there's this whole section on technology advances, and wow, things got really interesting. They mentioned things like virtual reality, even robotics. It's like, whoa, hold on, this field is being seriously impacted by technology.
Yeah, you're telling me. You can forget those old images of hot packs and treadmills. Physiotherapy is evolving so fast. Like imagine this, virtual reality simulations that actually retrain the brain to perceive pain differently, or telehealth connecting patients in remote areas. We even have robotics now, assisting with those repetitive movements for muscle retraining.
Robotics in physiotherapy. That's wild. It seems like to keep up with this, assistants need to be really adaptable, super open to new tech.
No doubt about it. It's a really exciting time to be in this field, and a physiotherapy assistant's role is evolving alongside all this tech. You got to be comfortable with it, willing to constantly learn new skills as things advance.
Definitely adds a whole other layer to the role. Speaking of which, one thing that stuck out to me in the pros and cons was flexible working hours. Is that actually realistic in this field?
That's a great question. Um, and honestly, it really depends. Flexibility can be a huge perk, but it's not always a guarantee. You might find more of it in a private practice versus a hospital, for instance. But it's only fair to mention the other side of that too,
Right,
right?
because it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
That's it, yeah. This is physically demanding work. You're on your feet a lot, and, honestly, there's the emotional toll too. Witnessing patients in pain, navigating their frustrations. It takes a certain kind of resilience and empathy to handle that day after day.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have to be ready for that side of things. It's not just the physical task, it's about being there, providing support when things are tough.
Absolutely. Being a source of encouragement, understanding
Yeah.
the whole patient journey. Speaking of which, that kind of leads me to the specialisms section. I noticed that Rollcatcher mentions specialization is possible, but they don't really go into the details.
It does seem like there are a lot of different directions you could go within this role. Is it actually realistic to have, like, a niche, even as an assistant?
Yeah, while you won't necessarily see official specialism titles for assistants, you can definitely focus your expertise.
Okay, so how does that work exactly?
Well, think about it. You could become the go-to person for assisting with, say, neurological patients.
Hmm.
Or maybe you find yourself drawn towards sports medicine, working with athletes.
Right.
Even though your actual title is still physiotherapy assistant, having that deeper understanding in a specific area, it can open doors to more specialized roles later on. And this ties in nicely with what they talk about in the advancement paths section.
So you're saying you start as an assistant, but there's potential to like really grow and have a bigger impact as you gain experience.
Exactly. Building up that expertise, it could lead to, say, senior assistant positions, more responsibility, maybe even supervising other assistants. Some assistants, they even use their experience to move into teaching.
Wow, so you could end up educating the next generation of physiotherapists.
Exactly right.
That's pretty amazing. There's so much opportunity packed into what seems like, at first glance, a pretty straightforward role.
Okay, switching gears a bit, I have to ask about the core abilities section. Rollcatcher mentioned social perceptiveness, like a lot. And I get why communication skills would be important, but what's social perceptiveness all about in this context?
Oh man, that is such a good question. And, it really highlights a crucial part of this whole profession.
And we tend to focus on the technical stuff, but honestly, being able to really connect with people on a human level, that's invaluable.
I can see that.
It's more than just, "Hi, how are you?" It's about reading their body language, understanding those unspoken anxieties, adjusting how you communicate based on that.
So being sensitive to what they might not be saying out loud.
Exactly. Someone who's socially perceptive, they pick up on those subtle cues. They can sense when a patient needs reassurance. And then they can tailor their interactions to create this really supportive, encouraging environment.
So it's almost like recognizing that each patient is an individual with their own, set of needs and fears, right?
100%. It's about being attuned to that whole emotional landscape of recovery, not just the physical stuff.
Right, because it's such a vulnerable time for people. This is actually making me think about the section on interview prep. They have this question in there about, how would you communicate complex medical info? And my first thought was, well, isn't that the physiotherapist's job? Why would an assistant need to worry about that?
That is so insightful. And it goes back to, like, being that bridge between the technical side of healthcare and the human side.
Okay.
Yeah. The physiotherapist might be the one explaining the diagnosis, the treatment plan, all that. But you, as the assistant, you might find yourself answering follow-up questions, clarifying instructions, maybe just putting things in a way that the patient can really grasp.
Right, because what a doctor says and what a patient hears are sometimes two different things.
Exactly. And being able to show those communication skills in an interview, that's huge. It
Mhm.
shows that you're not just there to follow orders. You actually want to connect with patients, really contribute to their well-being.
Be a part of the team. Okay, one last thing I want to touch on, and this is about the career stages. They lay out this progression. Physiotherapy assistant to junior assistant to senior assistant. Responsibilities obviously grow as you move up, but what would you say is the biggest difference between, say, a junior and a senior assistant?
For me, it comes down to leadership. Remember how we were talking about social perceptiveness?
Yeah.
That becomes even more essential as you move up. Because a senior physiotherapy assistant, they're not just managing their own tasks anymore. They're mentoring newer assistants, sharing all that knowledge they've gained, making sure the whole team's working well together.
It's like you become a guide for them.
Yes. It's about spotting potential in others, encouraging them, creating this supportive atmosphere where everyone can learn and grow. And that actually connects really well to the section on networking opportunities.
Because you're building those relationships that can help your career down the line.
Exactly. And networking, it's not just about going to conferences and handing out business cards. It's about building real connections with other people in your field. Colleagues, mentors, even potential collaborators. When you have a strong network, it opens doors, you get support, and it just builds this sense of community.
Yeah, like you're all in it together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that shared passion for helping people, that's honestly what makes this whole career so incredibly rewarding.
It's amazing how much depth there is to this role. Going in, I thought it was mostly about assisting, but it's really about being a partner.
You got it. A partner to the physiotherapist, the patients, even other assistants as you progress. Everyone working together, playing their part in the patient's recovery.
That's a good point. I feel like that whole idea of partnership, of everyone being on the same team, that's been a big theme in all these materials, right?
For sure. I think it's at the core of what makes this profession so unique. You're not just there to check boxes. You're part of this team that's truly dedicated to helping people, regain their mobility, live better lives.
Making a real difference.
Exactly. And that actually brings us back to you, the listener. If a role that's often seen as just assisting is this multifaceted, just imagine what you can achieve, the impact you can make as you gain experience.
That's a really good point. It's actually pretty inspiring to think about. And the great thing is, RoleCatcher gives you all these resources to explore those possibilities, right?
Yep.
We've only scratched the surface here. So I'd say dive into the specifics on their website, see what grabs your attention, where this could lead you.
Yeah, find what sparks your interest.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of physiotherapy assistants. I think we can all agree this is one dynamic and rewarding career path. And there's so much more to it than meets the eye.
It really is.
So to all our listeners out there, as you continue to explore this path, just remember it's not just about assisting, it's about empowering, being that source of support, encouragement, using your knowledge to help guide patients as they recover.
Yeah, and you never know. You might surprise yourself, discover hidden talents and passions you never knew you had.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you on the next one.